Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is 3.4.
What's going on, world? How are you? Welcome back to channel 3.4. This is another episode of Music Felt by me. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to talk about the death of Slim Shady. Now, of course, just as I was getting ready to really share my thoughts and feel like I've reached a conclusion and the totality of the project, this wild theory that the album is actually meant to be played in reverse comes out. And that may throw a little bit of a curveball in what I thought. But I would say this. I have some questions about the reverse order theory. It's strange to me that, like, there's some just kind of simple landings at things that aren't necessarily clear, like the idea that the album would start with Somebody Save Me, and that's just foreshadowing Eminem's inevitable death. Well, if it's foreshadowing his inevitable death, then he wouldn't have missed Haley's wedding and Lena's graduation and stuff like that. So some of those details kind of get a little murky, so I need to sit with that concept and that theory a little bit more. And really, I kind of want to just talk about the project as, I don't want to say intended, because I don't know what the intention is, but as presented, which is, track 1 through track 19. To me, it makes a lot of sense now. And it makes a lot of sense based on one very contingent opinion that I have, is that Somebody Save Me is actually from Slim Shady's perspective. I do think you have to listen all the way through. I think that what we've seen in the trailers before was Slim Shady was buried. The only thing I don't love about this is that the tombstone said 2024, right? So even for my own line of logic, but maybe he just reached a point this year where he was going to get rid of Slim Shady. I don't know. But that Shady's buried. M walks up to the grave, we presume, spits on the grave. So it seems like Eminem spits on his, what we presume is Marshall Mathers or Eminem, spitting on Slim Shady's grave. And as he walks away, a hand pops out of the grave, and he's not quite dead. Okay, duly noted. Understood. Shady's actually still alive. Then, it looks to me as if, in sequential order, it looks to me as if M is tied up in the basement, and Slim is showing him a news report that you see, or that, like, in the video you see him hearing the skit that he plays throughout the album with the news reporter, like, and Detroit rapper releases an album to cancel himself, whatever. So that skit on the album is actually visualized in the teaser prior to its release. So then I think they have the battle. That's understood. The question for me was, it's a dream. He woke up from it. Is it real? I guess I've landed at this theory for what the death of Slim Shady is. And I kind of hinted at it a little bit as I was getting there. Like, I was live time getting to this destination, I guess. That I believe this is somewhat of a public execution where M brought Slim out for people to hate and be upset and be offended. And I think he's trying to prove the point that, like, this guy sucks. M has since matured. M has since grown up. He has different priorities. He has different values. He's evolved. He's grown up. Despite what Candace Owens says, he's evolved. Sure, there's sort of this meta, or maybe hyper attempt of pseudo-meta, like, oh, look, it's not me, it's the character, and he's still saying all the things anyway, you know what I mean? But I do believe that my interpretation of it, this is not M hiding behind the guise of Slim Shady to say horrible stuff. To me, M played a character from a movie, or from a TV show, or from a book that is horrible. And I think that he played that role in a dichotomy, or the juxtaposition of what he understands about being empathetic and understanding people versus the kind of things that he does think it's just funny. It's harmless. I don't mean anything by it. It's not ill-intended. And I think that he now exists between the two and has struggled probably over the years at leaning too far into one or the other. And after Guilty Conscience 2, on Head Honcho, it's either on Head Honcho or Bad One, I think it's Head Honcho, where Eminem says, I don't give a fuck if you hate me more than every track off Revival. Which is an interesting point now, because M definitely gave a fuck about how people felt about Revival, and why don't people respect me, and he kind of did care a lot more. And I think Slim Shady, during the Guilty Conscience 2 scuffle, he says, now apologize. He's like, I'm sorry that him is just, or Marshall is just Jimmy and Dre's pup, and I'm sorry that he gives a fuck, but pretends that he doesn't, or whatever, right? And I think he actually was kind of speaking very realistically about some of the challenges or some of the things that Eminem has felt, thought, experienced, whatever. I believe that he actually killed Shady off when he got sober. That's my thought. I don't think he actually executed him on this album, because you can't, because they're each other, right? So like there's no actual murder. He was trying to like personify and actualize this idea of Slim being murdered. I think that really Slim Shady is a lifestyle, admittedly, on My Darling, where he says, but Dre, all Shady is a bottle of hair bleach and vodka. I think it's the drinking, it's the look, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. And he has since put that away. He got sober, and Shady doesn't have room in his lifestyle now to exist as this wild, reckless, careless, couldn't care less personality. So I believe that he actually just, I don't know if killed is the right word. I would say he sort of like banished him to the shadow realm as long as he stays sober and as long as he wants to pursue a life that he's working, what seems like he's working towards now. He's quiet. He's not in the news all the time. He's kind of quiet, he's secluded, he's isolated. You know, he kind of does stuff with the daughters now. He does little pop-outs and does kind of what he wants to do. Is I think, like when Slim Shady was out, he was kind of doing the Dog and Pony Show a little bit. He was, you know, on MTV and BET and doing interviews and doing this and touring and doing all this stuff and videos and stuff and content and stuff all the time, where now I think he's kind of like, nah, I just want to like I've worked hard, I want to do what I want to do. And I don't think that Shady can operate in that space. So I think that Shady more now just ceases to exist. I think that he has the ability to bring him out whenever he wants, or tap into maybe his sense of humor or his aggressiveness or his ruthlessness or his recklessness, whatever it might be, because it is a part of who Marshall is. Like, Slim Shady's created by Marshall. So Shady exists in the mind of Marshall already. So he can always tap into some of the resources that Shady does provide for him, which I think is also another important point, or an important part of this, is during Guilty Conscience 2, Slim was telling him, you were socially awkward, you were a loner, you molded me, you know, like I gave you courage, I made you whatever. I think all those things are true too. Em admittedly was like, I was just like a dork. I was a nerd. I just fucking liked doing this thing. And then, yeah, Shady gave him all the confidence and all the bravado and all the ego, I guess would be the right word. So I think that M has reached a point where he can balance the best of Slim Shady, and he's filtered him down to what he needs from him, and being able to push the rest of it aside, right? He can be confident. He can be even confrontational. He can be a man with a lot of bravado and more courage and more, you know, more pep in his step, I guess, without having to be transphobic. Like it's almost like they're contingent upon one another when it comes to Slim Shady. And I think now he's been able to kind of filter him down and keep the minerals that he really needs, and let the rest kind of go by the wayside. You get past Guilty Conscience 2, you get into Head Honcho. He kind of speaks now like he is this balance of the two. He's still going to be kind of choppy and kind of in a rap, and he gets more into that bag after GC2, and then he also has some stuff I think he wants to address, like with the girls, you know, with his daughters, and yeah, I think he's just kind of like rapping now. But now he's been able to attain the I don't give a fuck Infinity Stone. He's gotten that back from Shady, and now he can sit and exist with that stone and be operating as who he wants to be, while still not necessarily being as bitter or upset with or whatever, or giving value or power to things that shouldn't have his power or value. You know what I mean? If you talk about the album in reverse, it's more like the creation of Slim Shady, and in today's day and age, which may lead, you know, if that is part of the story of this, then yeah, I definitely think there's like a side B coming out or a sequel or something. It is pretty insane. I've listened to it in reverse, and there are a lot of things that do sequence into each other the other way too. It's like, it's really weird. It's I give a lot of credit if I mean, it does make sense both ways. Like, good example is Guess Who's Back, the Ken Kniff skit starts with the music from Toby, ends with him walking off on the stage, and then Toby starts with the music from Toby and footsteps. So if you go from Toby into Guess Who's Back, it works. And then if you go from Guess Who's Back into Toby, you hear the footsteps coming in, and then the music kind of picks back up. So there is some weird transition sequences that actually work in reverse order as well, which is unbelievable. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar's Damn, too. I mean, album that tells two different stories forward and backward. This does seem like it does have that proponent in it, and that's wildly creative. It's cool to be able to do this similar to Damn, being able to tell two different stories back frontwards and backwards, like, and it's not necessarily even like the reverse of them has to happen. Like, it's not like the album started with the birth of Slim Shady, but it may end in reverse order as if Shady is now like reborn, and that doesn't necessarily, I mean, I guess it does kind of feel like Shady is reborn in this situation. He's like back again, but yeah, wildly incredible well thought out project. I've been saying for a very long time that I want something really intense out of Eminem, something very creative, something very artsy, not just rapping about rapping and throwing offensive stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. I think that this is well intended. I think he's on target, and I've always said, if you go back and watch any of my reaction, when he has a target and a topic, he is as locked in as any rapper ever, and I think that this is a great display of it. I understand that some of the subject matter, a lot of the subject matter, is not great, and it is offensive, and it is insensitive, and it is harsh, but I do think in order to tell this story, like a movie with an asshole in it, you need the asshole the asshole is an important character in the movie, in the story, then you need the asshole to be an asshole for it to be believable. So, and then of course I noted this during my reaction. I believe that Somebody Save Me is from Slim Shady's perspective. Noted on Temporary, Eminem says, a lot of people ask me, am I scared to death? No, what I'm really scared of is not being able to say this stuff to you while I'm still here, dying without being able to say this stuff to you. And I think that that's been something that's been weighing on M's brain. I think that Shady has a little bit of that fear too, that he knows that he's not going to get a chance to address the daughters and say what's on his mind. So from after Temporary, you get the Guess Who's Back skit. So Temporary, then a bad one, Toby. Then you get Guess Who's Back, which is Ken Kniff, but it also kind of leads to Slim Shady's back again, right? Like, Guess Who's Back. So Shady's back to have this one song and basically apologize for putting himself in a situation, putting him and Eminem in a situation too, where how do I say this? I think he wanted to apologize to his daughters and all the kids, and his brother and everything too. Like, I think he wanted to reach out to everybody and basically say sorry for putting Marshall in a position where I couldn't be here anymore to see this stuff. Like, it's partly my fault that I'm not here because I put M in a position where he had to remove me. And because if you go through Temporary, like I said, like M was there when Haley was married, the first episode of the podcast, Lena graduating, so like, and all those things is like things that have happened in real life. So I think that it happened at the point of him falling in the bathroom. I'm not putting that in quotes, but I mean, like, to quote the moment when he fell in the bathroom, that's the time I think that Shady left. After that, like when he came back home, and I think that he also had this feeling of not being able to say goodbye to the kids. And I definitely think that song is from Slim Shady's perspective, because it just doesn't make sense unless I mean, I've kind of heard, like, I saw Jelly Roll posted saying that it's incredible that he had me on a record where he explores what if things didn't go the other way, and that's a fair song too. But I think in as a part in the story, I believe that Guess Who's Back, and then also if you think about, Toby ends with Shady cutting the arm off. I'm not really sure. The white chalk makes it look like he killed him. He just cut his arm off. Would he die? I don't know. I'm not sure. But Toby ends with Shady knocking out Eminem, cutting his arm off. Then you get Guess Who's Back, and then you get Somebody Save Me. It's absolutely from Slim Shady's perspective. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's my final thoughts. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. I'm open to the reverse order idea. It does work. I'm not sure if that was the intent, but it would be pretty coincidental, I think, for a writer at the level of Eminem's writing and song structure and whatever, and for him to say this is a conceptual album. I don't think it's a coincidence. So, I need to, like I said, I need to spend more time with it in reverse order and kind of really wrap my mind around that. I do have some questions about that theory, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for me. I am going to rate the album a 9.3. I think it's really good. I think it's Eminem's third best album. I think it's top 3. I think it's the Eminem Show, MMLP, and this one, The Death of Slim Shady. I like this better than the Slim Shady LP. I just think it's more creative. I think it's more artistic. It's not just about rapping. And this album really is more for his fans. I wouldn't expect a lot of new Eminem fans based on this. I mean, you might get like from like Fuel or a couple of records that might draw some people in, but God, this really, for the people that grew up around my age, I'm a South Park Eminem kid, man. Like, and I'm not even like a huge South Park fan, but that's my era. I was an 80s baby. So yeah, this 25 years is a pretty good chunk of my adolescence into adulthood, and or 7 years, whatever it is. So God, yeah, it's I think people in my age group will appreciate this album more than anyone else in the world, unless you're like friends or close to Eminem or whatever. But I think people in my demographic, a little bit older, will think that this is quite the project. So, and I do. I think it's really good. Definitely his best album in 20 years. Incredible to be 51 years old and put out a body of work that can be ranked. Other people are going to have different opinions. I think Fantano gave it a 5 or whatever. Okay, to me, it's a 9. I think the artistry is too much on display. Records like Temporary and Somebody Save Me are just so important again. Like I like songs like that, Headlights, Bad Husband, Darkness, like songs like that where he's like talking either as almost like a journal entry or like a therapeutic way, or with some purpose, some story concept song. So to do this with this album is really, really good. This is everything that I wanted music to be murdered by because I just didn't feel like that album, it was themed but not conceptual enough for me. It was very theme heavy, I guess, but I love it. 9.3, great project. If I find out that the intention was for it to also work in reverse and there's a sequel, that probably becomes like a 9.7. But if I change my thoughts on it at all, I'll update you guys. But right now, yeah, I've sat with it for the weekend, and 9.3 for me. So I've recorded this video twice, by the way, so I may punch in. You may see me punch in if I missed a certain point that I wanted. I didn't write a script or anything for it, so if I said something in another video that I like that I didn't say in this one, you may see me kind of crossed in. Might be the death of Dave Speaks, who knows? So that's going to do it for me, everyone. Be safe, be real. Let me know down in the comment section, what did you guys think of the album? What score do you give it? I said 9.3, really, I mean 93. 93 out of 100. 93 out of 100 volume rating, Slices Pizza, whatever you want to call it. 93 red umbrellas. Yeah, the red umbrella movement thing. That's going to be what it is. It's not a volume rating. It's 93 red umbrellas, I guess. That's crazy. All right, that's going to do it for me, everyone. Be safe, be real. Don't forget to pursue happiness and shit. I'll catch y'all on the next one.
Thank you to Patreon and YouTube members Afrado, Joseph Green, Jeremy Visser, Clay Hopkins,